Welcome back to Toast Sports Baseball, episode 12. Roman Anthony got called up days after hitting a 497-foot home run. We are going to talk about that in about 2 seconds. Go ahead and cue the music. Roman Anthony called up. Not the best of debuts, not the worst of debuts. Well, maybe one of the worst of debuts. But what he did prior to the debut is probably what got him called up. 497 feet of home run. I don't even know how they measure such things, but I don't know. I mean, I guess if you hit home runs like that, it'll get the job done.
Yeah, the Roman Empire is here. Everyone beware. Hide your kids and women. Roman is here. Arguably the best name in baseball. Beautiful locks. Possibly the savior of the Red Sox is finally up in the big leagues. Willed Abreu to the DL. We'll see how long it lasts. But obviously not a great showing in game one. However, in game two, he does collect his first hit and 2 RBIs in a victory over the Rays. Obviously, with the great momentum the Red Sox had with defeating the New York Yankees in the Bronx.
So he's got, what, now 3 RBIs? What's that put him, like, third on the team? Something close?
Yeah, I mean, I think the Red Sox offensively, statistically, are one of the top in MLB. When it comes to offensive stats, they just don't win games.
Yeah.
So
there's something to be said about winning games. But the thing I feel bad for Roman Anthony for, although at the same time, you gotta do your job. You're still a professional baseball player. He more or less gave that game to the Rays by committing that error in the outfield. Without that, they likely win that game, actually. That was kind of rough to see, but I mean, first game jitters, I'm sure. He even said after the game, he was like, obviously that can't happen, but that's a tough way to start your career, but it's nice to see him bounce back. It's kind of like Jack Caglione. I think Jack went 0-for-4 to start his career. Roman also smoked one off of the pitcher first game, which was pretty dope. And then it was still an out, but same thing with Jack. He hit one to the track and then had that crazy catch, kind of rob his day there. So, but yeah, I mean, lot to be excited about with Roman Anthony. I can't wait to kind of follow him along for the next couple of months here.
Yeah, hopefully the Red Sox faithful gives him some time. Hopefully it's not like Christian Campbell, where he struck out his first at bat and people were claiming that he sucks. Yeah. He needs to be sent down immediately, and then he won Rookie of the Year the first month. So it is cool for the Red Sox. They have their new young core in place at the moment. We will see how long that lasts. Obviously, in my opinion, I think it should stay for the rest of the year, especially where they are at in the standings. And if they make a run, that run needs to be built around them.
Yeah, Marcelo Mera, another guy that was, one of the big three, I guess you could call him, right? Had a what would have been error. Ended up being one of the craziest double plays you may ever see in your entire life. We're both a little perplexed, I guess, about how that was not an infield fly. I must not know what an infield fly is. I thought I did, but apparently that was not called an infield fly.
Yeah, I guess the rule states that you have to be under the ball, but reminds me of that Braves playoff game. Well, I guess that doesn't even compare because that ball was in the outfield and they called that an infield fly. Chipper Jones's last year. Yeah, very odd. I feel like that should have been an infield fly automatically.
It was kind of subjective, right?
Because then it avoids that double play situation where you can freaking drop the ball, even though it wasn't on purpose. But in theory, you could drop the ball on purpose and then get a double play. So, yeah, confused about that. Glad it worked out. Marcelo Meyer also hit a absolute shot in Yankee Stadium on Saturday for his first home run in his MLB career. as of last Sunday. Have not updated these past 2 games, but he was hitting about 222. So it is not an automatic thing that you get called up and you just succeed. The MLB is very hard. It's much different than AAA, and you have to get adjusted to the speed of the game and the speed difference between the highest level of minors and then eventually the MLB. As I said, hopefully Red Sox faithful and the front office gives this core its proper opportunity to succeed, especially in such a rigorous environment that Boston sports market can be.
Yeah. You don't see a lot of guys get the time to ramp up. But yeah, I mean, to your point, right? The game humbles you. It's a completely different ball game once you get up to the major leagues, and it's pretty apparent right out the gate usually. Now, there's obviously you got guys that come out and they're like Paul Skenes, and it's just like, what are you gonna do? We'll talk about him here in a little bit, but I think for hitters it's a little bit different too, right? Like just adjusting to how pitchers pick you apart and understand your game and actually study you is so much different at the major league level than it is in AAA. But let's talk a little bit about last night's game. So it was tough loss for the Red Sox, but overall hell of a game. Back and forth, went 11 innings, which was one of many extra innings games yesterday. Obviously, we talked about Roman struggling in the field and at the plate a little bit. He did have a walk, I believe, and an RBI. I didn't catch that. Did he walk in a run, or was it like a sac fly? Might have been like a sac fly.
Yeah, I mean, last night's game was brutal. If you're a Red Sox fan, they have to be now like 4-15 in one run games. It's like even if they're slightly below 500 in those, they're probably 3 games out of first place right now. But it is what it is in this situation in this year for the Boston Red Sox, and they still have a chance to win the series against the Rays. So
yeah,
that would be
the weird part for them was the runners in scoring position. That's where it was bad last night. And what's crazy is what they win the game or lose the game. It was pretty high scoring. I think 9-7.
Mm-hmm.
So they still scored 7 runs, but they went 4 for 23 with runners in scoring position last night. That's just way too many missed opportunities against a good Rays team.
10-8 in the 11th.
Yeah, that's rough.
I feel like if you're the home team in extras with Texas run rule, you have the advantage, and the Red Sox never have an advantage in extras for some reason this year. So hopefully they can turn it around. Still a lot of baseball, but the Roman Empire is officially live.
That's the most fun and most exciting part about the Red Sox right now. You guys get to at least watch a bunch of young, talented players hopefully flourish into stars. That's best case scenario. Worst case scenario, it's going to be a really rough couple of years for you, but we'll see. I'm hoping for the best. Let's talk Cubs Phillies. Another midweek matchup. Last night went an additional game here that went 11 innings. Cubs lost it. So we were both losers last night for our teams. It actually snapped Phillies' 5-game losing streak. And there was a little controversy at the end. Not much was talked about it. I'll give a quick recap here of what happened. So basically, Pete Armstrong, he sparked some hope, got a RBI double in extras to give the Cubs a 3-2 lead. And then Brandon Marsh came up with the bases loaded, walked it off with it would have been a double. It was obviously a single. Actually, it may have been a triple based on how hard he hit that ball. But to get to the point where the Phillies had the bases loaded, the Phillies bunted for hits twice with the ghost runner on second base. Now, old school baseball values, right, would tell you that's a little soft, a little gimmicky. And from my understanding, the Cubs bullpen kind of felt that way about it. It wasn't, I don't know that there was too many quotes or anything on it, but there was definitely some thoughts around that. I guess the question is, right, like the Cubs go up 3-2. Billy comes up. They know all they got to do is score 1 run to get back to even. And if you lay down a good bunt, you have a chance now to take the lead. Is it smart baseball, or is it a little soft? A little soft.
I once had a coach say that it's not small ball, it's winning ball.
Yeah.
I personally, I love it. I mean, the odds are that you move the runner to third with one out. All you have to do is get a fly ball, you score them, and then in today's age of baseball with launch angle and everything else, they got guys in the lineup that can hit a home run, and that can happen at any swing of the bat. So I'm a fan of it. I wish there was better situational hitting and just situational baseball in the MLB. I think the best teams and the best hitters still do that. The teams that have a winning culture have a team that is unified in that belief to manufacture runs and not just increase launch angle to hit the ball out of the park. So yeah, I love it. I think if it's a run, I don't. If you are not scoring in extras, you're doing something wrong. You have a man on second with no outs. You should automatically score every time.
I think the question I think came more from, so if you're the home team, obviously, right, you get a advantage in that situation, knowing what the score is that you have to hit, and moving a ghost runner from second to third isn't the hardest thing in the world. Although we've seen a lot of teams struggle with it. The question, I guess, would be like, if the Cubs are at home, right, they're at Wrigley Field, this game's being played, it goes the exact same way. Like, do the Cubs win that because they just bunt a couple times and get the guy over? And then I guess the question would be, is it, I don't know. I go back and forth. I saw a question posed about it, which was, should they not allow sack bunts anymore because you get the ghost runner on second already, right? So you're already getting an advantage as an offensive team, whether you're on at home or away. Like, should we really be allowing people to bunt over a runner that shouldn't really be there to begin with?
Well, I don't get the Texas run rule to begin with, and MLB, that's a little league thing that's now implemented in the MLB. So I think it's fair game in my book. And if you're the away team, why aren't you sack bunting and automatically taking a 1-run lead?
Yeah.
And putting yourself in a position to at least have a 1-run lead. I mean, I think even 2 runs doesn't feel too safe in extras because, you're a single away from being a 1-run game with tying run on bases. So yeah, I don't know. I think that's a little, if the Cubs were upset about it, seems a little soft. They can do the exact same thing. So it works both ways. And I think it should be implemented more. I've seen too many games where the Red Sox get a 0 in extras, and it's like, what are we doing?
Yeah. I kind of am with you on the whole Texas rule. I don't know. Like, I understand they're trying to speed up the games, right? But when you got major league hitters out here, I don't think there's any reason that they need to be bunting over their ghost runner that shouldn't even be there in the first place. Just my take.
Save bullpen arms.
Save bullpen arms. Dodgers, Padres. Another game. That was the late night. Game. Arguably the best game of those 3, by the way. It was ridiculous. The way it started, it was 11 runs in the first 3 innings. Set an absolutely wild pace. And then it ended with Andy Pages had a go-ahead double in the 10th inning, scored the insurance run for the Dodgers on Tommy Edmonds' single, and they won it over the Padres. Couldn't get it done in the bottom of the 10th. But it was back and forth, and I think afterwards, Jackson Merrill, they asked him about it. He's like, that game was sickening, but it was one of the best games I've ever played, like from like a just being involved with. So I guess the question to you, Joe, is Dodgers Padres quickly becoming like the best modern rivalry?
I think it has, you could say arguably that it has the most talent on the field between the rivalries of today, which makes it great. So yeah, I mean, I know there's bad blood and there's been some postseason sadness for the Padres as they can't get over the hump against the new evil empire. But yeah, I mean, when you have that much talent on the field, and teams that are well coached and execute, it's definitely a recipe for great baseball.
Yeah. I've enjoyed watching them. The game, like the Dodgers and Padres play, you can tell they definitely don't like each other very much at all, and it kind of spills over into the fans. Definitely a rowdy bunch. I mean, the Dodgers fans are already, it's well documented. I'm not saying anything here that's not known. The Dodgers are a rowdy bunch and sometimes a violent bunch, especially when the Giants or Padres come to town. So it is kind of fun. I think it's good for baseball. I think teams like that, especially when the Dodgers are seen as relatively superior, right? Even though the Padres have a lot of talent, the Dodgers are obviously seen as superior, and the Padres can go out there and really kind of go toe-to-toe with them. I think it's a lot of fun and good for baseball.
Yeah, I just don't think my one negative on it is that, one, the rivalry seems one-sided, which means it doesn't really make it a rivalry, and two, when there is lopsided talent throughout the history of the rivalry, like usually the less talented team doesn't figure out a way to win. And I think with some other rivalries in baseball, like the Red Sox and Yankees, when the Red Sox have Rob Refsnyder batting third, and they somehow beat the juggernaut Yankees, the team that's better than last year without Juan Soto, the first place in the American League East, the superior. Well, I guess they're not the good-looking people anymore since they all have beards, or they're fat and bald like Carlos Rondon.
Yeah,
it feels like anyone's game. It feels like a college football game where it's like Auburn, Alabama, Bama's undefeated, and Auburn somehow wins. That's, to me, that's like what makes a great rivalry.
yeah.
Is that, and no matter the talent difference, people come up to play, and anyone can win. So, but I do think as of right now, when you have the talent level out in the West Coast, there's this more talent in that division, specifically on Dodgers, Giants, and the Padres, that it's definitely more entertaining at the moment.
No doubt. What about Tito?
Tito
Coming back to Cleveland for the first time, where he won 3 AL Managers of the Year.
Yeah, I was
now
shocked
with the
by
Reds.
that stat.
I was too.
Shocked by that stat. I would say he won maybe one in Boston.
Yeah.
Maybe one. But besides not bringing a World Series title to Cleveland, which he did have a World Series appearance, I don't know. Like, if he got elected into the Hall of Fame, I could easily see him having an Indians hat on, which is insane to me. But I could definitely see it. It's very impressive what he did over there. His dad played for the Indians. There's always been that connection to Cleveland for Tito, and then obviously had substantial success with doing less with more. So I think it's going to be a very, very, very cool moment for him. He did win his first game in Cleveland yesterday. I do not know.
He's not taking it easy on them. They won again today, 1-0.
There you go.
And have a chance for the sweep tomorrow with Lodolo on the mound, which all that guy's done is put together a 3.21 ERA with a 4-win record.
Yeah. No, I think it's a cool story. I'm very happy for Tito. I think the game's better when Tito is in baseball, and I still believe that he is one of the best managers in the game.
Yeah.
Wish he was still the Red Sox manager. One of the biggest fumbles of all time by the Red Sox.
Yeah, I mean, I would not disagree with that at all. I mean, obviously, the Cleveland Indians against the Chicago Cubs in 2016 was one of my shining moments of my entire life and will be forever. But if I would have loved to see it, if the Cubs were to have lost, I would have been fine with it being to Tito. Great guy. I've met him before. Really nice guy. I met him one time at a charity event. It was a golf charity event. Really, really nice guy. I'm rooting for him, even though he's in my division. I'd like to see him, still do well. I have a soft spot for the Reds a little bit. I don't know why. I don't know what it is about them. I don't know if it's the young talent. It's not like a long-term thing. It's more of like a current day thing.
Amazing ballpark. Beautiful
it
ballpark.
Beautiful
Great
ballpark.
American ballpark.
And Ellie De La Cruz, maybe it's because he's on my fantasy team. I don't know. But he's so much fun to watch. He's electric. So when he puts the ball in play, you just have no idea what's going to happen. So, go Reds this week, I guess. Let's see if they can sweep the Guardians.
Yeah, I agree.
Be good for the Tigers, who have now opened a 7-game lead in that division. Absolutely ridiculous. So I'm going to skip forward here a little bit. So we have some strategic partnerships being done here in the media world, in the content world. Jomboy Media has partnered with the MLB in a strategic partnership, which I believe MLB actually purchased a minority stake in Jomboy Media. There's some thoughts around it. I think it's great for Jomboy Media as a media company if they're trying to grow and become, more of that corporate role. It is a bit unique. You don't see a lot of these types of media companies that run these podcasts and stuff be scooped up by actual organizations like the MLB or NFL or NBA. It's more of usually some level of brand partnerships, or betting companies usually pick these types of guys up or stuff like that. So it is interesting to see the MLB actually get involved fully with it. My initial reaction, which I think I've seen a lot of on social media, which is not necessarily that they sold out, right? I think somebody puts a big bucket of money in front of you, you're going to look at it and do what's best for you and your organization. But I think the issue here now, right, is you kind of built yourself as being this fan first content. And when you're fan first, you're kind of a voice for the fans. And now you can't do that. Now I think Jomboy, he went on and he said nothing's going to change. We have it in the contract, nothing's going to change. Content's going to be the exact same. The problem is that can't be true. It just can't be. Things change, especially when you get into partnerships like this. The MLB has a rooting interest in what is put out into the media. And when somebody like Jomboy has such a big voice within the community, you can't be the fan first voice that you've always been. You now are part of the machine. You are part of the agendas and the strategies that the MLB puts forward.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a little conspiracy that all this angst around the umpires, that the MLB kind of throws a bag at someone that is the best at illustrating how bad the umpires are in a very comedic way.
Yeah.
Which I would imagine will be slimming down afterwards with their partnership with the MLB. I also think it's a little different. Like the only one I can think of is Pitching Ninja.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't think Pitching Ninja isn't giving like takes or controversial opinions. He's literally just looking for nasty pitches and then making his edits and posting that.
Correct.
Which I think that's a great partnership with MLB because it gets to display what the pitchers can do and how difficult it is to actually hit a baseball because of how nasty these pitchers are. But when you're a personality, like a barstool personality, like Jomboy, and you make your bread by having these satire opinions, it makes it very interesting on how much longer he can actually have these opinions and what type of content he can make without upsetting his new biggest donor, which is the MLB.
Yeah, I mean, we have to call a spade, right? He's not going to bite the hand that feeds him. And when push comes to shove, he can say all day long that they have, content independence. Basically, they have control over all the content and the contracts and everything like that. But let's say the MLB is under fire for something. Can he take an honest stance on it now as a fan first media company? Can he take an honest stance and actually give that opinion? I think it's kind of hard to do that when you can't really openly critique owners. You can't openly critique the commissioner. You can't openly critique the umpire unions because you are now effectively a piece of the MLB. So I think it gets a little muddy, and especially when you say things like nothing will change. Well, nothing, nothing will change. I don't know. It is definitely it's going to be interesting to see how that pans out over the next couple of probably months here. Kind of weird this middle of the season. I do think there is definitely something to be said about the whole umpire debacle there, and especially this year, there's been a lot of them, and it's interesting timing. But he's always been that media company and Jomboy, they've always been kind of buddy with the MLB anyway. But when you're officially a part of it, now you don't have the independence to do kind of the things that make you a great content and media company, which is independence. So that's all on that. But
Yankee fan.
Yeah.
Big time suit.
Yeah. Corporate came calling and he wasted no time. No, that's we don't dislike Jomboy. Actually, his content actually, not that I fell out of love with baseball, but it definitely brought me closer to it. He makes some awesome content. Hopefully it continues, but I have definitely some concerns about it, as do a lot of people out on social media. So enough about competing media companies. Let's talk a little Pete Alonso, dude. This guy has just been going nuts, and he just passed David Wright for second all time on the Mets all time home run record. Which, by the way, I was shocked by that. I didn't think about it really all that much and how they aren't that old of a franchise. But still, for Pete Alonso, who, he's been in the league a little while, but it's not like, it's not like Albert Pujols or, something like that. And he's second and only now 9 away from being the all-time home run record leader for the Mets. Crazy. That's crazy.
Yeah, very disappointing all-time home run leader list for the Mets.
Yes.
You would think it'd be better, especially with the payroll. But shout out to Pete Alonso. He was treated like old news this offseason. Basically had to beg the Mets to give him a contract. The Mets finally capitulated, and he goes out and is the main reason offensively that they are where they are right now, which is back in first place. The Metropolitans, they're back. With a lot of, he's obviously in a contract year, has to prove himself. And has a lot of star power around him that he has to compete with. So I think it's a pretty difficult situation for him. And he is succeeding at all levels. So it's very cool. It's like, he should be the all-time leader at some point soon. I think Darryl Strawberry is number one.
Yeah. At this rate, it's going to be next week.
Yeah. So it's like, how are you going to let your all-time home run leading homegrown talent walk? Like, if you're willing to pay Juan Soto $750 million, you can't give this dude $300 million.
Yeah.
I think it just looks good for the Mets. I think it looks good for the Mets from and 30 years from now, when you can be proud of someone like that, and maybe he gets the 500 home runs or 450 home runs. What's Darryl Strawberry have, like 320, 270?
It's 200. It's in the 200s. I want to say 249.
Yeah, it's like, dude, like get this guy and start building your record books.
Yeah. Do you think he stays? If obviously his contract's up, he's I believe he's an unrestricted free agent. Or no,
He can opt out. He has player options.
Okay, he has a player option. I thought so. It was a 2-year deal.
Correct. He has a player option. It's kind of set up like Bregman. But he's making $40 million this year. I mean, it's not like he's making chump change, but
he could definitely get a long-term contract anywhere next year, especially after this season that he's having right now. So
you would think that after this offseason where first basemen were treated like they were replaceable, and literally there's just not many first basemen besides Pete Alonso and Freddie Freeman showing up. You would think that he'd be able to get a long-term contract, and I think he will. I think the Mets will pony up personally.
So I got a quiz for you here.
Where did Pete Alonso go to college?
No, that would be a good one though. Let's go ahead and answer that real fast.
Where did Pete Alonso go to high school?
That's the better question. I don't know if I know that. It's in Tampa, is it not?
It is. I'm pretty sure it's Tampa Jesuit.
Okay, wow.
That would have to be verified, but I had some teammates that played with him in high school, if I'm remembering correctly.
Yeah, my quiz was not going to be Pete Alonso related, but another potentially disappointing list of home run leaders.
Ooh.
Who is the all-time home runs leader for the San Diego Padres?
I mean, Tony Gwynn doesn't feel like the right answer, but I feel like he has to be up there. Like Kim Caminetti, maybe.
I would have been right.
Ballpark?
You're not even in the realm of possibility. I would have said the same thing. It is Manny Machado.
Oh wow, okay.
And can you want to take a stab at the number? I'll give you this. It's below Pete Alonso.
Yeah, I was gonna say like 163.
That's not a bad guess. 177.
Okay.
So 177 is the all-time home run leader for the San Diego Padres. This is a two-part. Where do you think Fernando Tatis is on that list?
Second. Okay.
But
he's been injured a little
140.
bit.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean he will end up being the all-time home run leader for the Padres. I can't imagine that he won't. The only other person that might steal that from him at this point would be Jackson Merrill. That guy's actually insane. But yeah, that was a little fun quiz there.
0 for 3. Nice.
Good for
start.
3. I'll be honest. I thought, I was like, what other young franchises, out there are there? Let me just go look up a few. And I was like, Tony Gwynn. I was thinking of some other guys, and when it popped up and it said 177.
So how many home runs did Tony have in his career? I mean, I know he was a slap hitter, but I thought he'd have at least like 250.
Apparently not.
Yeah.
So there is a guy coming up, another prospect call up that I'm pretty excited about. So Jacob Misarowski,
the flamethrower,
the big 6'7" flamethrower. The dude throws like 103 miles an hour. I did get to see him this year. I watched him pitch. He came to
Charlotte.
He came to Charlotte and he got his ass kicked.
Oh, really?
They actually ended up winning the game, but he only went 5 innings, 5 earned, 7 hits, gave up two big shots, and only struck out 5, which is really rare for him. I think his overall ERA at the time was like less than a 2. So he came in pretty hot, but he got it obviously back together. He has some command issues that they're overlooking and bringing him up anyway. So
yeah, it should be fun. I love flame throwers. And the Brewers can obviously use as much pitching as possible. See if they can give him a spark.
Yeah. Again, 104 miles an hour. He's ramped up to at some points. It's absolutely ridiculous what he throws the fastball at.
Yeah, he has a 3.04 ERA with 320 strikeouts and 233 innings, just like 1.5 per inning.
Yeah.
Give or take.
It's okay.
It's solid. The Red Sox would definitely want 2 strikeouts per inning before he got called up. So
we want to see him hit 105 before we get him up here. So
yeah. That was I hate to backtrack, but that was the funniest thing from Breslow. He's like, yeah, we kind of want to see him hit further home runs. He's not hitting further than 497.
Get to 500 and we'll call it a day.
Right.
As a prospect though, Mizorowski, he is number 68 overall. He's number 4 in Milwaukee. And this year, I believe he has a 2.13 ERA and 13 starts, triple digit fastballs constantly. And he will start this Thursday against the Cardinals. I might take it. I might take him to win that game. I know that's not one of our picks this week, but if there is a single pick, I might take him to win his first start.
Okay. I like it.
That'd be kind of fun to watch. Ohtani. Mr. Ohtani-san continues to wrap up. He's ramping up, rather. He is ramping up to 3 innings of simulated ball against some minor leaguers for the Dodgers. That's the most he's thrown in this rehab-ish thing that you would call it. I don't know what you call it. But 3 innings pitched and 44 pitches.
Do you have his velo?
You know, they didn't specify, and that concerns me a little bit.
Well, I saw a report because we talked about him a handful of weeks ago. I saw a report after that he was, I think it was like 96-ish. Good for me. Good for me.
Yeah.
But interesting. I don't agree with, I wonder if 3 innings is going to be his max. So he's like middle reliever, can close. I am highly against him starting for the reasons already stated previously, but it will be cool to see him pitching again at some point in MLB.
So last week we asked, maybe it was 2 weeks ago, we asked how many home runs he'll hit this year. I think you said 48.
48.
I said he would get up toward that 60 number. I was thinking he's probably going to end up 58 to 60, which I still feel that way if he doesn't start pitching. If he starts to pitch, though, in the regular season, I think you're probably going to be more in the ballpark. I think it's going to come down to 44 to 48. You just can't give everything all the time
Well, I
to
feel
hitting.
like he could if he's relieving. Like,
Yeah,
if
maybe.
If he's a starter, like, I'm not having him steal bags. The 20, 30 bag seasons, no. Dude, you swing bat, you get on base, you stand still because you got to start in 2 days. I'm not risking you breaking your hand sliding or, just increasing your risk of injury. It's interesting. It's a very interesting play. Obviously, I think that's where the WAR number gets a little convoluted, whatever that word is.
Combobulated.
Yeah, convoluted. Yeah. Because obviously his WAR is going to be higher if he's pitching, especially if he's starting. But from a team perspective, is it better if he's balls to the wall offensively and then throws every third day out of the pen?
Yeah.
I don't know. To me, I think that's a better team recipe for success and a longevity recipe for success for Ohtani.
Wasn't that the argument against / for Ohtani when he was with the Angels, and it was him and Judge, and it was like, well, if you look at the WAR number, it's not really apples to apples because Judge is just hitting. Yeah, obviously he's fielding, but when you have a guy that's out there pitching on the mound every 4th or 5th day, or 5th or 6th day, and then also going and hitting. Now, granted, I think that makes you crazy valuable. In my eyes, that makes you more valuable than anybody in the league. But when you're looking specifically at the WAR stat, I think it's inflated a bit.
Yeah. I mean, maybe it's a thing where they want to work him up to like 7 innings, and then come playoff time, it's like, hey, we're going to throw our best at you, and our best is starting Ohtani tomorrow.
Yeah.
And he's going to hit, and he's going to hit for himself. So, that could be it. Can you even hit for yourself anymore? I don't even fucking know.
I don't think he hit when he was
pitched.
pitching.
Yeah, that's pretty common. At least in Little League.
Um, let's go to the other side of the country. Otani, all the way over to Paul Skenes. Dude's been dominant, and he won't stop. Not his stuff sits upper 90s, 100-mile-an-hour, kind of like the Misrowski kid that we just mentioned a few minutes ago. The difference with Paul Skenes is he's no kid. He's young, but he is a full-grown man, and he comes at you just as dominantly as any pitcher that we've seen in the last probably decade. And one of the comps that you gave, is he the new DeGrom?
His stats this year are very DeGrom-like, from the DeGrom of the Mets. I wanted to pull up his entire pitching log. I had a nice brief log from April 19th, but I know he struggled earlier in the year. But I will just give from April 19th, he has thrown at least 6 innings, except for one game against the Cubs, which he only threw 5 and gave up 3. Those other games was 7 innings, 2 earned runs, 6.1 innings, 0 runs, 6 innings, 2 runs, 6 innings, 1 run, 8 innings, 1 run, 6 innings, 1 run, 6.2 innings, 0 runs, 8 innings, 1 run, 7.2 innings, 0 earned, and he has 92 strikeouts in those 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 starts. So in 91 innings, he has 92 strikeouts, a 1-to-1 ratio, only 20 walks. And that gives him a 1.88 ERA in that time frame. Also, he's pitching for the Pirates.
Poor guy.
If I'm the Pirates, I'm now on the fence of trading him.
Based on the last, 6 or 7 starts where he basically has.
When is his value ever going to get higher? And if you're not going to extend him and give him the money, what are you doing? Get as much capital as you can.
Yep.
But yeah, I mean, he is doing things that only a handful of pitchers have done. Pedro Martinez-esque, Jacob deGrom-esque, Jake Arrieta-esque in his prime, Clayton Kershaw. So it's very cool, and it's cool that he's able to actually go longer into the game. The only other pitcher I can think that's doing that routinely is Garrett Crochet.
Yes.
Just he has a little better stats. Paul Skenes does.
Yeah. Paul is he's going to be I wouldn't call him once in a lifetime, but he's definitely once in a handful at best in a lifetime. Or at worst, I guess. Yeah, the comparisons to DeGrom, from a stat perspective, you can look at it all day. The thing that strikes me is his maturity at a young age. I know he's kind of an odd guy, but he's stoic. He goes out there. He doesn't get flustered on the mound. It's very DeGrom-esque. DeGrom, even at his young, when he was real young and he was going out there and throwing 104 miles an hour like he was, he just never really seemed to get all that rattled. And maybe it's because he doesn't really get in situations where he gets rattled, and neither does Paul Skenes. But, I feel like there's some level of maturity in his game as well, not just his personality, right? His velocity is matured. The way that he handles himself on the mound is matured. He kind of seems like a seasoned ace, and he's only in his second year. Second year? Yeah, this is his second year.
Yeah, he was a rookie last year.
Feels like he's been in the league for 5 years.
That's what the Pirates will do to you.
Let's talk about another pitcher with a name that starts with P. Mr. Pablo Lopez, sitting on my DL right now, which is real fun. He's actually been there for a little bit, but this is not a good situation for the Twins. Also, I think he was in some trade discussions, if I can't remember correctly, right? Like he was kind of like some trade bait potentially.
Yeah, depending on how the Twins were at the deadline, but obviously he's not now. Shout out to the Marlins. They catch a little break. Sandy Alcantara should now be more top of the list. I've also heard Zach Gallen with the Diamondbacks treading water, which I think would be a very positive note to say if they were treading water, because I believe he is in a walk year. So, I mean, Pablo probably would have been the one, and Zach Allen would be the 2 on the trade market, leaving Sandy 3. That now bumps him up to 2. Sandy also had a really good start. Of course, it's against my fantasy team this week, where he got his first quality start, which seems like it has been for ages since he's done that. But yeah, definitely sucks for the Twins and Pablo Lopez. I believe it's 8 to 12 weeks. He's essentially done for the year.
Yeah, that's fun for the fantasy team as well. Can't tell you how awesome that feels, considering my IL slots are already stacked. So that is a lot of fun for me. You know what's even more fun, though? Our new segment. It's not so new now. We're, 3 weeks in?
Mm-hmm.
So this might be the last time we call it the new segment. But let's talk about buttered, plain, or burnt, baby. We got 3 comparable players that I'm going to rattle off here to Joe. And he is going to have to butter them, eat it plain, or burn them. And that would be a starter, benched, or DFA. Joe, what I got for you today, buttered, plain, or burnt. Eric Davis, peak Eric Davis, peak Brady Sizemore, or peak Carlos Gonzalez, Mr. Cargo.
I am going to go Cargo on burnt, strictly because I would like to see his stats away from Coors Field. And I would imagine they're drastically different than at Coors Field. And I'm going to go with Eric Davis as benched and Grady Sizemore as the starter, simply because I have not looked at any of these stats, but I got to see Grady Sizemore play, and I remember his peak, and it was legendary for the Indians. Would
you like to hear their top 3 years?
I would. I'm going to look at their stats as well.
All right, so I'm gonna rattle them off here. So we'll start with your burnt pick, Cargo. His top year was 2010. He had a 6.7 WAR, a 336 average, 34 homers, 26 stolen bases, and he had an OPS of 974.
Which year was this?
This was 2010.
All right, 5.9 WAR.
5.9 WAR. I had him at 6.7, so 5.9.
5.9.
Okay.
Finished third in MVP voting, Gold Glove, and Silver Slugger.
All right. Well, now I'm questioning some of my statistics here.
They might have got flipped.
Might have got flipped. Oh yeah. We may have flipped him.
Okay.
Let's take a look. So Grady Sizemore was your starter.
Yeah. So do Eric Davis next for my peace of mind.
So this would be, I believe, 1987 Eric Davis.
I'm looking at it. Very impressive. Holy hell.
That year
finished 9th in MVP voting with that.
Yeah. 1980, he hit a 293 batting average, 50 stolen bases, 37 home runs, 100 RBIs with a 991 OPS. And his WAR that year was a 7.9. Okay, so I had that one right. And that is one of the most incredible stat lines, especially back in the day, right? This is before you had the 2 pickoff rule in baseball. This is before you had the bigger bases. And he still stole 50 bags and hit 37 homers with 100 RBIs.
Well, if you look at the year before, he had 80 stolen bases.
Yeah. And 27 homers.
Yeah, he was almost the first 40-40 guy. I believe A-Rod was the first 40, or Jose Canseco. Maybe Canseco was 30-30 and A-Rod was 40-40.
Yeah.
That would have to be verified. Yeah, that's an incredible year. Only a 2-time All-Star. Also head scratcher. What are you doing, voters? because I was not by fan vote back then.
No.
I'm not feeling good about Grady Sizemore.
So let's take a look. So we got Grady Sizemore, I believe, and I don't know if you've got his stuff up there, but I believe his best year that I had here on record was 2006.
Mm-hmm.
And it is. His WAR was a 6.7. He hit a 290 batting average with 28 homers and 22 stolen bases. I don't think he matches up statistically.
No. It looks like I got the benched right, though. My bench pick looks to be correct, even at total.
The Cargo.
Yeah, total WAR for Cargo was 24.5. Total WAR for Grady was 27.7. Total WAR for Eric was 36.1, significantly higher than those. Yeah. And what's crazy is that Cargo finished third in MVP, which would be the highest between the three in MVP voting, just in general. That's really wild. It was funny. I did look up Eric Davis after I watched the Pete Rose documentary because I was curious about the 1990 team, and he was obviously a huge component of that. Not an all-star, but he had 24 home runs and 21 stolen bags, 86 ribbies, a down year compared to his previous 3 years, really 4 years. But still a big contributor to that team, and was also highlighted. He was like the King Griffey Jr. before King Griffey Jr. At least that's how the media was writing about him, and then unfortunately got the injury bug, which really you could say the same about Grady. I mean, you look at Grady's top 3 years, 2006, 2007, 2008, which in 2007, that's when the Indians were up 3-1 against the Red Sox, and they came all the way back to win the ALCS that year. But Grady had 33 stolen bags and 24 bombs, 118 runs.
Yeah.
852 OPS. Guy. Yeah, his highest OPS was the year before in 2006 at 907. What was Eric Davis's highest OPS?
I thought Grady was a little faster than I gave him credit for.
So did I. Yeah, he had
some of the steal numbers were a little lower than I thought.
Yeah, I mean, I think they're all good comparables. I don't think Cargo was a big stolen base. Well, he had several.
He had a couple years. Yeah,
he was about similar speed to Grady, but I mean, Eric was in a different level of speed compared to those two.
Yeah, I think people forget too with stolen bases, right? Like stealing 20 bags used to be kind of, it wasn't a huge number, but it was a pretty big deal. I mean, like it wasn't like it was today where you see guys out here, like everybody feels like they're stealing, like 40, 50 is like a normal thing to see, which is not the case back in the day. So seeing a guy steal 80 bags like Eric Davis did, or 50 the next year, and even Cargo stealing, his share of like 25, 27 bags, pretty impressive. That's why I was a little surprised by the Sizemore number in 2006 at only 22 stolen bases. But
yeah, I mean, there's no doubt that Eric Davis is the best player statistically out of those three. Looking at that, yeah, that was a good one.
Yeah,
Eric Davis,
and,
look him up.
Yeah, look him up. He's a stud, man. And the only thing that kept him really from being, I would say, one of the best players of all time is his injury history. It was just crazy. He just never could stay healthy. Even in some of his best years, he would, routinely miss 40 plus games. And it was just, that's tough. Kind of reminds you of like a modern day Byron Buxton. Because there's no, I don't think anybody has quarrels about me saying that Byron Buxton, talent wise, is one of the best players in baseball, but he just can't stay on the field. I mean, he hits the ball with ridiculous exit velocities. He steals bags like a maniac. He fields like a maniac, but when your body just can't hold up, he's only 31 years old. He should be playing it at the top of his career right now. And he just can't. So, yeah, just interesting tidbit there on Byron Buxton. Let's look at the current standings in MLB. So we'll start in the AL actually. So right now the Yankees are sitting with a 4-game lead On the drum roll, please. Not the Rays, not the Red Sox, but the Blue Jays.
Sleeper team.
Blue Jays, yeah. They've been on a nice little roll lately, 8-2 in their last 10, and have just finally crossed over the positive run differential. So they have a +1 run differential on the year, which is always kind of a fun stat to look at. It means absolutely nothing, but it is a fun stat to look at. The Tigers have a 7-game lead in the AL Central. Oh, mark that. It is now an 8-game lead. It has been updated since we made our notes. The Detroit Tigers are now 44-24, have an 8-game lead over the Minnesota Twins. The most surprising one here has to be the Kansas City Royals, right?
Yeah, still over 500.
Barely.
I mean, that whole, I think that division, it's more about the Tigers than anyone else, in my opinion. Twins obviously going on that crazy win streak that put them back into it, but now without Pablo Lopez, you would imagine they're going to falter. Cleveland Guardians can't seem to stay on a roll or be consistent. And the Royals, which sneakily have arguably one of the best pitching staffs in baseball, maybe Jack Caglione gives them that burst to kind of rise in the standings. But I still think it's all Detroit. It's the only team in any division that I feel confident that they are going to win their division.
The Royals offense has been absolutely horrible over the last, call it like couple weeks here. Let's just look at their OPS real fast. So over the last 2 weeks, they are maybe not as bad as I thought. 9th in OPS, but they're not scoring runs. I think that's the problem, right? They're hitting the ball, but they're not scoring a ton of runs. Yeah, they have 45 runs over their last 12 games, which puts them 25th in baseball over that stretch. So they're not, they're putting the ball in play at a 739 OPS. They're getting on base a little bit, but they're definitely not converting. Probably runner in scoring position issue, as it is with a lot of teams right now that are struggling. But that one's a little surprising to me. Just that division overall, I thought for sure it would be a Kansas City Royals and Tigers kind of fight for the top, and maybe the Tigers pull away a little bit late. To see them with an 8-game lead here on June 10th is maybe a tad bit surprising. AL West. This is the division, man. The last week that we did this, the Seattle Mariners had a half-game lead over the Houston Astros. Fast forward about 7 days, and the Houston Astros now have a 2.5-game lead over the Seattle Mariners and are sitting at 36-30. Talk to me about this division, because I can't wrap my head around it. It seems like the Astros and the Mariners just kind of keep going back and forth a little bit, and the Rangers have one of the worst OPSs in baseball, which makes no sense to me. This is like an enigma of a division in my mind.
Yeah, I mean, you look at Seattle Mariners, they have a negative run differential, and they have a better than average offensive production this year, which I think if anyone would have told you that at the beginning of the year, you would think that they'd be winning that division with ease. They've had obviously some injuries to their starting rotation. However, they seem like they can't get over the hump. The Rangers are obviously still trying to get out of this fog offensively. And the Astros, they just seem to have built a winning culture, and over the past 10 years, it has been their division, and they refuse to give it up.
Yeah.
And you look at some of their young players like Jeremy Pena, who is kind of stepping up and being that new core and being that new face, while Jose Altuve kind of steps out, and Hunter Brown, who's been an ace, which is what we said would have to happen if they were going to win the division. All that's occurred, and it's all occurred without their best hitter and what I think is one of the best hitters in baseball, Yordan Alvarez, being injured primarily the entire year. No one really knows how long he's been injured, but he's on the DL currently, and has not been a major force in that offense. So it's definitely a wild ride out there. I still like the Rangers to figure it out, and only being 4.5 back with Bruce Bochy as your manager, I feel like you got to like those odds. But I do think the Astros are here to stay. They are the least talked team in baseball, arguably the most hated team in baseball, most controversial team in baseball. But one thing they do is win games, and you have to respect that.
Yeah, they do it a lot. Specifically, they've done it 11 out of their last 16 games. I do believe they lost tonight to the White Sox. However, I won't hold that against them. I think they'll still obviously take that series away from the White Sox. And everybody drops a game that they shouldn't every once in a while. But yeah, I'm baffled by this division. You know, I thought the Athletics were going to be a lot better than they are. Their record is not good. One of the worst records in baseball. And the talent level is pretty good there. So, I don't know. This is such a weird division, man. The Angels are just kind of hanging around, only 4.5 games out. Sitting right there with the Rangers. Again, I'll mention the Rangers have one of the worst OPSs. They have a worse team OPS than the Colorado Rockies. Like, make that make sense. It just doesn't make sense. But yeah, I digress. You know, we're going to be watching that division, I think, a lot. I think that one's going to come down to like the last week of baseball at the end of the year. Speaking of wins and losses, last week's predictions. Not feeling good about talking about these once again.
What's up with National League, buddy?
Oh, did we not talk National League? We didn't talk National League.
Man, we don't need to. The National League's trash. We can just...
I'll run quick. There's no reason to talk about it because the Cubs are winning the NL Central. They're up 5 games on the St. Louis Cardinals. The Mets have opened a 5-game lead in the NL East. And that division's starting to look real nasty. It's a 2-team race at best.
Mm-hmm.
The next closest team is 14.5 games out of first. Yeah.
The Braves are in a worse position now than when they started 0-7. You got to really scratch your head on that. And the Mets, baby. The Mets. Got nothing to say about them.
They're good. They're a good team, and they have one of the best records in baseball, if not the best by percentage of wins against teams 500 or more. So they're getting it done. They're getting it done at home, too. Their home record is 25-7. Very impressive. And they're taking care of teams that they should take care of. And the Braves, we posed a question last week. Should they fire Snicker?
Stinker.
I put it out there, and the overwhelming sentiment from Braves fans is yes, obviously they should. However, they won't because of what he has meant to the organization and how long he's been there. I keep posing the question, have a real talk with him and say, you need to step down. My health, something. I got to get out.
Ghost
whatever.
IL. Ghost
IL, the manager. Do it, Braves. You need it. And then we'll skip through here. The Dodgers, 40-win team, sitting at 1.5 games over the San Francisco Giants. However, there's a pending series coming this weekend. San Francisco Giants versus the Dodgers. So that'll be a fun one. We'll talk about that here in a minute. Now we'll talk last week's predictions. I was just so, I was looking down the notes and I was like, I want to rip this one off like a Band-Aid.
Yeah,
and it was not good. Another 0-4 week for me. That's back to back, by the way. That's back to back. However, you didn't sweep this time because you also decided that you wanted to jump in and do the Dodgers with me. and they got a little bit of a butt kick in the first 2 days over there in St.
They
Louis. I will say St. Louis is a lot more for real than I thought they were. I'm gonna eat it for this. I still think at some point they wake up from their dream run here and it falls off. But that day apparently is not today, and they continue to roll and stay in contention in the NL Central. But quick breakdown here: Cubs at Tigers. I had Cubs 2-1. You had Tigers 2-1. Great series. Horrible umpires. It was so bad. Nico Horner got tossed for saying you're having a bad day. He turned around and said you're having a bad day to the umpire, and he tossed him before he even finished turning around. And then Craig Counsell comes out. He gets ejected as well. Actually, back-to-back days, Craig Counsell got ejected once against the Tigers, the next against Philly yesterday. But yeah, bad umpiring. However, that's not the reason the Cubs lost the series. They didn't show up, and Scooble did his thing, and so did Jack Flaherty. Jack Flaherty had a hell of a game against the Cubs on Sunday. Red Sox, Yankees. A little bit better outcome for your team here. So the Sox did take 2 out of 3 from the Yankees, and Joe did win the series there. I had the Yanks winning 2-1. I really thought the Yanks at home would get that done, and instead, Christian Campbell hit a home run about 7,000 feet into the air over the right field wall. And they went on a home run barrage there on that last day.
Yeah, I mean, the Yankees are bad. They're not good. They're one of the worst Yankee teams I can remember. And I have to sit there and look at them in first place. It's appalling. And this is like classic Red Sox. The past 2 years, they play great against great competition, and they play terrible against terrible competition. They are the most inconsistent franchise I can remember in modern baseball. It's so frustrating to watch, but always good to beat the Yankees in the Bronx. Fat bald Rodon going down against Hunter Dobbins, who calls the rookie calls out the Yankees, and the Yankees can't even muster out a win.
What was that?
Hilarious.
What was that about? I know that's been talked about and beaten like a dead horse, but man, hey, credit to the kid. He had some balls to come out and say something like that, especially before the start. If I'm his PR guy, I'm like, what the hell are you doing? But
yeah, I'm sure his agent isn't happy. His agent's definitely not happy, but I'm happy. I'm happy, and I'm glad that's why Dobbins did it. He made me happy. He made Red Sox Nation happy. Yankees lose. They're terrible. Get used to it.
By the way, what he said, we just said, oh, well, he said all this stuff. What did he say? He said that if the last team to offer him a contract was the Yankees and nobody else offered him a contract, he would retire.
Yeah, I think mentally he also had some more thoughts, but it wasn't. It wasn't illustrated to us. But I mean, Yankees are bad. I don't care what happens. They got all this money. They got all these players. Stanton comes back. They're still going to be bad. They can move Paul Goldschmidt II. Sounds like a terrible idea. They're going to be bad. Yeah. Their pitching doesn't scare me. They're just not a good team. They're not a good team. And it's frustrating they're in first place. So,
well, the Red Sox have a chance to put a stamp on it this weekend. They do play again against the Yankees, and they will be playing at home this time. So, last prediction that we had last week was Padres at Brewers. I had the Brewers going 2-1, and you had the Padres going 2-1. And it was Padres 2-1. Brewers could not get it done in the final game. I think they lost one game 1-0 too, which is...
I think that was the Pavetta game.
That has to be one of the most frustrating things as a baseball fan. What, like top one? Losing a game 1-0? That's just such a bad feeling. You don't sleep well that night. That does bring our season total to 22-18 for Joe and 14-26 for me. Let's talk about something a little bit more fun. Last week's fantasy league matchups, in which I did win and you lost. I need to have some win here. I'm spiraling downward quickly. I did win my matchup 9-3-1. Actually came through. I think it was the last day. Ended up going up 11-2, and then some things happened at the end there, made me go down a little bit. But it did get me out of last place in the fantasy league. Gotta love that. And now I'm on my way back up. I'm 6th in the fantasy league. And
who are you behind?
So I am currently behind. Drum roll, please. Again, I'm right behind you. However, caveat to it. I do have more wins than you do.
Yep.
But you have more ties. We have the same win percentage.
But who has the head-to-head?
You have the head-to-head, yeah.
Yeah, that's good.
No.
Yeah, it's pretty tough.
For now.
Only a half game out of the wild card for both of us. So
we're making it.
Yeah. Yep.
The fantasy league has to let us make it this year because it makes for good content.
Yeah, that'd be silly. I might have to put in an executive order.
Let's talk a little who's hot, who's not. Let's talk a little who's hot, who's not. I'm gonna run through. Which ones do you want to do today? You want to do hot or not?
I'll do hot.
All right, let's go.
All right. Pete Alonso, last 7 days, 444 average, 5 home runs, 15 RBIs, no stolen bases, and a 1574 OPS. He's hot. Keep him starting. Don't accept trade offers.
Nope.
Ketel Marte, 360 average, 4 home runs, 9 RBIs, 0 bags, and a 1340 OPS. Manny Machado, 448 average, 3 home runs, 7 RBIs, 1 stolen base, 1293 OPS.
That's Padres' all-time home run leader, Manny Machado.
Padres' all-time home run leading Manny Machado. Merrill Kelly, 13th inning pitch, 15 Ks, 2 quality starts, a 0 ERA, and a 0.62 whip. Absolutely dealt. Great week to have Merrill Kelly.
Yes.
Paul Skenes, who I played against this past week, 15.2 innings pitch, 15 Ks, 2 quality starts, 0.57 ERA, and a 0.45 whip. Between Paul Skenes and Judge is what made me lose this week. And lastly, we got Chris Sale, 13 innings pitched, 21 Ks, 2 quality starts, 1.38 ERA, 108 whip. Another great week from Chris Sale. You got to think that if the Braves continue to slide, he's got to be a trade candidate.
100%. And I'd argue right now, just over the last couple of weeks, Chris Sale is one of the most valuable pitchers in baseball. With what he's doing. So 21 strikeouts in 13 innings as a starting pitcher with 2 quality starts and allowing just over a 1 whip is nasty stuff, man.
And if the Yankees get Chris Sale, I will kill myself.
Don't worry. He's coming to Chicago, and it's going to be amazing. The Cubs could use a nasty lefty in the lineup. I would be over the moon if he ends up a Cub.
And he still has 1 more year?
I believe he has 1 more year on the contract.
Yeah, we'll have a
probably
trade deadline special that goes through all that at some point.
We will. Let's talk not. These guys are less fun to talk about. However, we got to talk about them. Harry Carpenter, a 250 average with a 625 OPS. That's all there is to talk about. He has 0 homers and 0 RBIs in the last 7 days. Out of character for him. Out of character. He's been smashing the baseball. I think he has 13 on the year for the Detroit Tigers. So he'll get it back together, though. Left-handed bat. Probably playing against a bunch of lefties. Jake Cronenworth, 217 average with 0 homers, 1 RBI. With a 575 OPS, Yuck. But it gets worse. Don't worry, it gets worse. CJ Abrams, a 143 average, 0 homers, 1 RBI. Listen to this OPS over the last 7 days, a .33. Does not get much worse than that. And then we got 2 pitchers here. Andre Palante. Now, I'm going to give Mr. Palante here a little bit of a pass. His stat line looks pretty gross over the last 7 days. 10.1 innings pitched, 5 Ks, 7.84 ERA with a 1.45 whip. However, he did have one quality start in his last 2. So my guess is he just got smashed by the Dodgers. Or he got smashed in the outing previous to pitching against the Dodgers. And then Trevor Williams, 8.2 innings pitched, 6 Ks, a 7.27 ERA with a 1.38 whip. Yeah, the Nats are got some struggles going on there. Those 2 guys, Trevor Williams and CJ Abrams. Let's skip to our favorite
series to watch.
Favorite. This is it. This is the week. This is the week where we turn it around and we get back on top. Well, we literally can't get back on top. That's how bad it is. So, but we're gonna try. We're gonna chisel away here a little bit.
That's all you can do sometimes.
We do not have the starting pitching matchups yet for these.
It's okay.
games.
I got them.
Oh, all right. At least the perspective
my
ones.
sources.
Some perspective ones.
So we got the San Francisco Giants at the Los Angeles, who never wins when I pick them, Dodgers. We got game 1, Logan Webb versus Yoshinobu Yamamoto.
Oh, what a amazing pitching matchup.
Yup. Saturday, we got Landon Roop versus Clayton Kershaw, coming off a win in to avoid the sweep. 6 Ks, 6 innings, something like that. Solid little outing for old Kershaw. If you guys didn't see it, they were showing some like old playoff pictures while he was warming up for the game of him like giving up walk-off home runs and stuff. He was chapped, to say the least. He had a nice little quote about it at the end of the game.
Called it Bush League.
Yeah. As expected, something along those lines. And then the last game on Sunday Night Baseball is Kyle Harrison versus Dustin the Redhead, the Mad Ginger May.
He had, talk about a rough outing. He actually pitched last night and got pieced up bad. As I mentioned before against the Padres, in the first 3 innings, it was 11 earned runs between the 2 teams. So Dustin, hopefully he gets back on track for the old Dodgers there.
Mm-hmm.
Who are you going with?
I got the Dodgers.
Dodgers 2-1. Who was the pitcher for the Giants on Sunday?
Sunday was Kyle Harrison, which I believe he's been throwing fairly well. Ooh, his last 7 is a 10.38. So he's not been throwing fairly well.
That made the decision for me. I'm going 2-1 Dodgers. I kind of like Webb against Yamamoto. By the way, FIP leaders in the NL, he is number 1. So take that for what you will. Yankees at Red Sox. Let's go. Rematch time. 1 weekend apart.
In Fenway, the greatest stadium for baseball on earth. Friday, it is Garrett Crochet Day versus Ryan Yarbrough, who has like a career 8 ERA against the Red Sox.
Have you seen him pitch lately? I saw him pitch out in L.A. And he's got such a funky delivery.
Yeah, he does.
It's a little like a little sidewinder almost action. Is he a lefty? I think he's a lefty.
I just remember him on the Rays.
I do remember him on the Rays as well. I always thought he was a relief guy.
He was the starter and then got pulled after 3 innings type guy.
Okay.
They
Very
actually
special.
still have him listed as a relief guy. The Yankees have him starting, if that tells you anything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
got game 2?
He is a lefty. Game 2. Game 2, we have, I believe that's Walker Buehler.
Oof.
Oh boy. Oh boy. Where'd it go? Where did it go? Oh, 7:15, Fox. Carlos Rodon
Oh, he's back.
versus Hunter Dobbins rematch. Saturday night in the pack.
In the pack.
And
All right.
Sunday, we have a day game, 1:35 at Fenway. Max Fried making his first appearance in the rivalry versus Brian Bayo, who has been throwing much better recently. Who do you got?
You ready for this? Sweep.
Oh, let me change
Yankees.
that in the notes. Let me change that.
Yankees sweep. I had them 2-1. I love the pitching matchups that they have. I don't think they're gonna tag Crochet by any means, but I think that they can get it done. I think Rodon's gonna. He's not gonna pitch as bad as he did this second time around. I don't think. And then Max Fried is just a monster. He's a monster against everybody. Who was pitching the first day for the Yanks?
That was Yarborough.
So we got 2 lefties on the mound. Yeah, give me a weird sweep. Give me a really weird sweep.
Weird sweep. I'm definitely having the Red Sox winning this series. I really want to go sweep just because of your outrageousness with you choosing sweep, but I'm going to go 2-1. I can't state it enough. The Yankees are trash. They're bad. The Red Sox play their best against better competition. Really liking the Crochet matchup. He gave up 5 last weekend. I expect him to be very crisp in his Friday Crochet start, and it is something worth looking up. But Yarborough is historically really bad against the Red Sox, so I do expect that a win. Fat Bald Rodon versus Hunter Dobbins. I'm going to keep up the juju with Dobbins winning that game. And then on Sunday, I will give the Yanks the edge. It'll probably be a 1-run loss for the Red Sox.
Ryan Yarbrough is 5-4 versus the Red Sox in his career with an ERA of 7.09 with 60 strikeouts and 20 appearances.
Yep. So definitely sweep for the Yankees.
All right. Last 2 we got here, Twins at Astros. What do we got on the mound? Do we have those yet?
I got him through the sources. Friday in Houston, 8:10 p.m., 7:10 Central Time. Chris Paddock versus Colton Gordon. Saturday, we got Joe Ryan versus Hunter Brown. That would be a good one to highlight, to watch. Sunday, we got at 2:10 p.m., 1:10 Central, undecided by the Minnesota Twins versus Lance McCullers Jr., also from Tampa. Yeah, I think it's an easy Astros 2-1.
I agree. I'm going Astros 2-1. And last but not least, Rays at Mets.
The Mets?
The Metropolitans.
The Metropolitans. Friday, we got Taj Bradley versus Clay Holmes.
Oh, that could be a good matchup.
Mm-hmm.
The Mets pitching staff has just continued to be surprising. So, I don't know. That might be fun.
Very impressed with Clay Holmes when I saw him pitch against the Red Sox. Dude's filthy.
Yeah.
Saturday, Drew Rasmussen versus Tyler Miguel, ex-teammate Tyler Miguel.
You want to hear a little tidbit on Rasmussen? So the guy has been absolutely dirty this year. Nobody, and when I say nobody, nobody's talking about him. He's pitched 13 games. He's 5-4 in those games. He's only allowed 17 earned runs all year for a 2.22 ERA. The impressive part, he has a .89 WHIP and he's allowing a 196 batting average over his starts this year. He's not going to overpower you. He's not going to knock you down for 15 strikeouts, but he's going to get you out, and you're not going to get a lot against him.
Yeah, I like it. Little ginger beard.
Yeah, been around a while too. That was Rasmussen versus
Tyler Miguel.
Oh, okay. Mr. McGill.
And then Sunday we got Shane Baz versus Griffin Canning.
Me and this guy have I just can't. I can't pick him, and I can't pick against him. And he's been a problem for me all year. But I will tell you, he's still pitching really well. And he has a 3.22 ERA. He's a career 5 guy. But his whip is starting to climb a little bit. He's had a couple of rough outings. And I really want to pick the Mets, and I'm going to do it, but I do think they lose the Griffin Canning game against Mr. Boz.
Yeah, I got the Rays 2-1. The Rays winning the first game, or the Mets winning the first game with Clay Holmes.
The 21-7 record, really, or was it 27-7? Something like that. It's a ridiculous home record. The Mets just seem to be really jazzed up to play there right now.
25-7.
Yeah, pretty crazy.
About to be 26-9.
Yeah, it never stops. Yeah, I mean this is the week. I'm just letting you know, this is the week where things turn around.
8 games behind. Gonna have to start being bold.
Yeah. Yeah. Hey, the Yankees sweep was pretty bold in my opinion.
That would give you 2. That would give you 2.
That would. That's going to be it. That's going to be it for this episode of Toast Sports Baseball. So thanks for tuning in. If you enjoyed the show, please follow, share, like it, send it to a friend, comment. We'll answer back. And we'll catch you next week. Stay toasty.